Motivation isn't just overrated, it's actually a liability for a leader. If you need to feel motivated to perform, you are technically vulnerable, because the moment that feeling evaporates, your performance crashes with it. High-level leadership isn't about chasing energy spikes, it's about building an engine that never runs out of fuel. Today I'm going to show you the specific internal framework that replaces motivation with a sustainable and predictable source of energy. Oh, and by the way, the dynamics of self-motivation are identical to those of trying to motivate anyone else. But before we get into that framework, we need to be very clear on what motivation is and how it works. The received wisdom is that leaders need to motivate their people to get the best out of them. This is dangerous nonsense that not only doesn't work, but also backfires. The word motivation means an incentive or inducement to action. Let's take an example. You notice your marketing director, Lisa, is getting a little stale. She's not as engaged as she used to be, and her creativity has suffered over recent months. You wonder how you can motivate her to be as she used to be, vibrant, creative and focused. You can't promote her, there's nowhere for her to go unless she takes your job. That's not an option, but you could give her a pay rise. She hasn't had one for a while, and she's arguably underpaid for her responsibilities. You schedule a meeting and tell her that you've been really impressed with her performance since she joined and that she deserves a pay rise. She looks pleased and leaves with a spring in her step. You notice more energy and commitment from her, but only for a while. Within 2 weeks, you realise that nothing has changed. She's back to her old self. Why didn't it work? Surely giving people more money is a great reason for them to respond positively and give more of themselves. The reason is exactly why motivation doesn't work and should be avoided at all costs, and it's this. Motivation happens to the individual. It's an external source of energy which is applied to whoever you want to motivate. In Lisa's case, you're looking to replace her own depleted source of energy with another, money. The result is temporary at best. Worse still, Lisa's performance could suffer further if she feels trapped by a salary that she could not get elsewhere. These are golden handcuffs. We'll come back to Lisa once we determine what to replace motivation with. Let's consider how the same dynamics apply to self-motivation. You're finding it progressively more difficult to get out of bed on a Monday morning, fight your way through the rush hour, and sit at your desk in meetings for another 8 hours plus. You know that you lack motivation and have started watching motivational YouTube videos, but not like this one. You've started to go to the gym, you've even started meditating and cleaning up your diet. All of this is good, and you definitely feel better for it, particularly having cut down on your alcohol consumption. And yet, Monday mornings still feel really heavy. You're simply not motivated. Sure, you can power through and still do what you need to do, but there's a constant voice at the back of your head asking, does it really have to be like this? The answer is, of course, no, it doesn't. I'm not going to say it shouldn't be like this, because in truth, it absolutely should be exactly how it is, given the choices you're making. You see, the way you feel is always, and I mean always, a direct result of the way you think, your beliefs, and the stories you tell yourself, which all reflect in the choices you make. In this case, you've made choices which are not completely in alignment with who you are, which produce feelings telling you precisely that. To understand why motivation can't work in these scenarios, we need to introduce a key dimension of leadership: purpose. Purpose is the visceral urge to act in fulfilling and uplifting ways in the world you inhabit. It's the need to express what you feel is important to you. It's the driving force behind all human activity. Take it away and nothing happens, nothing at all. With purpose goes choice. When you choose to act in harmony with that sense of purpose, on purpose if you like, it feels good. And the energy to act is never in question. It's just there. But when you choose to act in any way that is not fully on purpose, it doesn't feel so good, and the energy simply isn't there. It feels heavy and resistant. Why do we do this? Why do we choose to do things that are out of alignment with our innermost sense of purpose, which is such an important part of who we are? The reason, once understood, will liberate us from the misery of feeling unfulfilled and purposeless. It all comes down to chasing results. When we prioritize outcomes over process, we are using the ends to justify the means, which violates a fundamental law that life is a process, not an outcome. In fact, the outcome is the process. Fixating on outcomes compels us to live in fantasies of the future, which don't exist. And when the outcome does arrive, it's for a fleeting moment that must fail to satisfy. The process, on the other hand, exists continuously in the present and will always fulfill us if it is in tune with our sense of purpose. There's an old story about two pottery classes, one of which was asked to produce the best pot, the other was asked to produce as many pots as possible in the same time. Lo and behold, the class tasked with producing many pots also produced the best. The reason? Because the class producing many was process-focused, the one producing the best was outcome-driven. And guess what? Motivation is outcome-driven. It's an attempt to drive a particular outcome through an external intervention. And because it rides roughshod over the process, it's doomed to failure. When you threw a pay rise Lisa's way, you weren't concerned with whether or not Lisa felt any sense of purpose doing her job, her process. You just wanted the outcomes she used to deliver. The end justified the means. When you started watching motivational videos, going to the gym and meditating, you weren't so concerned with those processes per se, just their promise to motivate you into getting the outcome you wanted. So let's summarize the insights so far. Motivation doesn't just fail to deliver, it'll backfire too. Activity needs to feel on purpose, otherwise the energy to deliver won't be there. When an activity is purposeful, the outcome is the process. Great. So how do we apply this newfound wisdom to our work in order to transcend the need for any motivation? You may have noticed that what I'm advocating is switching your source of energy from an external one, which we're calling motivation, to an internal one based on your activity or process being in harmony with your sense of purpose. This form of energy we can call inspiration. Inspiration literally means to breathe in, which is to tap a source of energy that is always present and abundant, oxygen. This is the engine that never runs out of fuel. Stop trying to motivate and inspire instead. Inspiration comes from within and provides an inexhaustible source of energy to complete any task you want, with the only proviso that it resonates with your sense of purpose. Let's explore how it applies first to Lisa and then to you. A couple of years ago, Lisa had become a mother. She'd navigated the challenge really well, juggling nannies, babysitters, and working from home in order to keep delivering as a director. At first, it had gone well, and she felt that she'd achieved the ambition of having it all: mother, director, wife, and homemaker. But as her daughter grew, so did a yearning to prioritize her motherhood. Her income kept her going, but she was only too aware of how the motivation was waning, whilst the inspiration that she used to feel had all but disappeared. When you raised her salary, she was really conflicted. The initial elation dwindled to be replaced by a sense of being torn in two by her opposing roles of director and mother. If you'd sat her down to find out what she was really feeling, you'd have discovered that her sense of purpose had changed from one of delivering creativity to one of caring for her child. That purpose was never going to resonate with her old job, no matter how much you paid her. It was never going to inspire her again. Turning to you, no matter what new activities you engage in to motivate you, it's never going to be enough to nullify the yearning to find purpose in what you do. What you used to find purposeful may no longer float your boat. And that's a great thing, provided you're honest with yourself about it and take the necessary action that the feelings are calling from you. So let's detail the specific internal framework that replaces motivation with that sustainable and predictable source of energy: inspiration. It has 3 steps. Firstly, get in touch with the real feelings around your work in leadership. Does your work feel meaningful, purposeful, and fulfilling? Not to anyone else, just to you. If it does, job done. So stop watching YouTube and get back to work. If not, which is more likely given you're watching this video in particular, step number 2 is to ask yourself what you would do if A, you had absolute freedom in how you used your time, and B, you had complete financial freedom, independent of any work-related income. If this process exposes a clear divide between what you do and what you want to do, then step 3 is your mission to address this gap by aligning what you do with your sense of purpose. This requires courage, which is intrinsic to leadership. Don't delay. If you procrastinate, circumstances will inevitably conspire to compel you to take action, and sometimes in ways you would not prefer. We can summarize this framework as feel, aspire, act. Be aware of how the status quo feels, aspire to a new one, and act to change it. Now for a couple of caveats. Change doesn't necessarily mean resigning today. It may mean taking some time to plan and then execute. What matters is not where you are, but your direction of travel. Feel your way towards reconnecting with that sense of purpose. Evolution may be a better option than revolution, and only you will know. Secondly, you don't have to monetize your purpose. Steven Berkoff, an actor famous for villainous movie roles, which pay well, is passionate about live theatre, which doesn't. He uses the former to subsidize the latter. Choose inspiration over motivation, process over outcome, and the present over the future, and your life will transform from one of effort to one of flow. I know this from my own YouTube channel. I love making leadership videos. I'm far less concerned with views and subscribers than I am with the process of recording, editing, and publishing. Many channels die young because the owner doesn't see the results they're chasing soon enough. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. See you in the next one.